Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting on the Ranch. Today we're going to be talking about some fatherly stuff, so stick around.
We are a family of 5 living on a ranch in Texas.
On our channel, we will cover a variety of topics. These are solely based on our experience and opinions, and we do not hold any degrees in childhood development or education.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting on the Ranch. My name is Curtis. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel as well as clicking the bell icon so you don't miss anything. Today we're going to be talking about some fatherly concerns. Some fatherly things that often come to my mind. Now, but before we get into that, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever heard that one song that really kind of just gets you, gets you right here in the heart? And I have two of them. One of them is a song by, I believe it's Brad Paisley, and it's called He Didn't Have to Be. If you haven't heard this song, I'll try to leave a link down in the description below to a YouTube video of it, so y'all can listen to it if you want to. But basically, the way this song goes is it's a single mom and a kid, and the mom is dating, and every time the mom goes on a date, the guy that comes to take her on the date just kind of ignores her or is surprised by him or something like that. And then one time, a guy comes to the door to pick his mom up, and he invites the kid along. So they all three go out on this date, and eventually the guy marries his mother, and he grows up with this guy. And later on in the video, it shows them where the son is having a kid of his own, and the guy is right there with the dad is right there with them. And it shows what it takes really, or what it really means to be a true dad. I mean, whether it's a biological dad or an adoptive dad or stepdad or whatever, that is the perfect example of what it is to be a dad. The second song that really hits me is, I believe, by Lone Star, and it's called I'm Already There. And again, I'll try and link link into a YouTube video in the description. But this particular song, the regular song is great. I mean, it's a good song too. One day, about a year and a half ago or so, I was working in my shop making a carving a sign, and this song came on my radio, and it was a kind of a mixtape type thing. It had the main song itself, but it also had little messages that kids are sending to their dads or their parents that are on active duty. And it got about halfway through the song. Now, I like the song anyways. It's a very nice song. But this mixture on this version of it is just so powerful. I actually had to turn off my router, and was sitting there bawling the entire time this song came on. And every time that song comes on, it brings tears to my eyes. This song basically, it's about a dad that works out. Well, the dad works away from the home, and the dad calls home and is talking to his wife and is talking to his kids. And one of his kids says, "Dad, when are you coming home?" And he says the first thing that pops into his head was, "I'm already there." He's there with the people that are, or the things that are around him, the good stuff, the memories and stuff like that. He's there with them all the time. Just maybe not so much in person, but he's there with them all the time. And it's a very, very powerful song. Both of these songs are very powerful songs. So what I'm getting at with these two songs is that, it takes a certain kind of person, a certain type of male, to be a dad. Any guy, any male can be a father, but it takes a special kind of person to be a dad. I saw this thing on Facebook one time, and it said that
Being a male is a matter of birth. Being a man is a matter of age. But being a dad is a matter of choice.
so. As a dad, we need to make sure that we are spending time with our kids. We need to make sure that no matter what, no matter how tired we are, we're spending time with our kids. Growing up, I was blessed to have both a mom and a dad that were together until I was 8. But even before that, my dad was self-employed, and he would work from early in the morning till late at night, sometimes after supper time. And it was often that I didn't really see him very much. I didn't have much of a relationship with my dad until pretty much like sophomore, junior year or so in high school. Growing up, he wasn't around all the time because he was working to provide for the family. And that's one of the things that I am thankful for, that he gave me this work ethic and this need and drive to provide for my family. Because that's one of the things that I strive so hard to do. And yes, we sacrifice as guys, or as the quote-unquote breadwinner for the family, of being away from our kids and being away from our spouse, but it's what we are supposed to do. So, as I grew up, my parents, like I said, got divorced when I was 8, and I went to live with my mom. And my mom was the type of person that basically let me do whatever I wanted to. She let me go to friend's house. She, it was like, as long as you're home by bedtime, you're fine. Go wherever you want. And, growing up, this was 30 years ago or so when I lived in a town of 3,000 people. It wasn't that big of a deal. I could go anywhere pretty much. But the thing is I had very little expectations of growing up. I didn't have a chore list. I didn't have things that I had to do. Honestly, I didn't really even do a lot of homework. But as I got older and my mom got remarried to a guy, it seemed to me at the time that first song that I mentioned was kind of about me, because he at the time was more of a dad than my dad was, and which is sad, but it wasn't my dad's fault. A lot of the stuff that happened, well, let me back up here a little bit. A couple years or so after my parents got divorced, I stopped going over to my dad's, and I stopped seeing my dad. And I think a lot of it had to do with the way that my mom talked about my dad, and the way that she said that he treated her. And I didn't like that. So I stopped going to him. And, at the time, he had that level of expectation for me, but I didn't like that level of expectation because my mom didn't have that same level of expectations of me. So I thought he was too strict. So I didn't want anything to do with him. And for about probably 4 years or so, I didn't see my dad. I didn't see him at Christmas. I didn't see him on Thanksgiving. I didn't see him on my birthday. I didn't see him anytime. Until one day, about my probably 8th or 9th grade year or so, I was over at my grandparents' house, his parents, and he came there, and it was the first time, like I said, that I'd seen him in probably 4 years. Well, I had grown like 8 inches and put on 75, 100 pounds or so between the last time he saw me and then. And it was just a major shock for him. One, that I was there, and two, how much I had changed. And not only had I changed physically, but I changed mentally too. Because I seen a lot of stuff that my mom was doing that I didn't agree with. I started to realize some of the stuff that my dad expected of me growing up was better for me than what my mom had expected of me. which again was very little. So after we re-engaged, I guess you could say, about a year or so later, my mother got remarried, and about 2 years after that, my stepfather at the time got a promotion at work, and him and my mother moved to Houston. And this was my sophomore year. Well, I didn't want to go, 10 and a half years at one school to have to move to a humongous school system of Houston and go to school. I wanted to finish the school there, and that's what my mom wanted for me as well. So that was probably the one of the few things that I am very thankful of my mom for. Now, if that is actually the reason that she wanted me to stay, I thank her for it. If it was something else, then it's not good for her. But anyways, as we continued to develop, and I ended up moving in with him my junior year, I went from a C student to a and AB student, missing several days my sophomore year, and to having perfect attendance my junior and senior year. My dad since then has been an awesome dad and has just helped me any way that he could. My relationship with him now is awesome. So going with that, looking at the way that my dad was with me and the expectations that he had of me, making sure my homework was done, making sure that I was home at a certain time, making sure that my chores got done, making sure that anything I got, I earned. It wasn't that I was given it. I didn't deserve it just because, which was the way that my mom was. I had to earn it. I had to work for it. I had to work for the money that I got, whether that be for my allowance, whether it was for actually doing a job with him and getting money for it, whatever it was, I had to actually earn my money. And again, that's where my work ethic came in. The one thing that he didn't have pretty much any time growing up, and it's still kind of lacking as it is right now, was the level of love that he shows. Even to this day, it's still me that always says I love you first when we leave, or that initiates a hug first when I leave his place or when he leaves my place. Typically it's me that's doing it. Now my wife, on the other hand, she always gets the I love you and the hug initiated by him, but not me. And that could be just the way that he was brought up. But that's one of the things that I try very hard not to or to change with my kids. I want to make sure that they know that I love them. I say I love you. I give them hugs and kisses before I leave, before they go to school. Anytime that I'm away from them, I say I love you. And I show them that I love them by a hug or a kiss or something like that. It's something that you never know when you're not going to return. So you have to make sure that they know the way that you feel. I'm sure that you have experienced or maybe seen on television or something like that, people saying, well, I don't really know how my dad felt about me, or how I felt, or that my dad felt about me, or that I felt about him before he passed. So, like I said, I always try to make sure that my kids know the way that I feel. So as they get older, they will hopefully show their kids the same way. As my kids grow up and as they have kids of their own, I hope that they will take what they learned from me and my wife and pass it on to their kids. A lot of times when kids are growing up, it's kind of a flip-flop effect, right? It has where one year you will get a very strict parent, and the next year you'll have a very lenient parent. And oftentimes is that the kids are saying, well, I don't want to be the way that my parents were. My parents were super strict on me, and I don't want that for my kids, so I'm going to be lenient on them. And then other times it'll be, my parents were very lenient on me, so I'm going to be really strict on my kids. So then it's like, when they have kids, they're going to be just the opposite. And that's typically the way that I see it happening. Unless something changes and the kids say, I like the way that my parents were this way, but I don't like the way this way, so I'm going to have my own parenting style. And that's kind of the way that I had growing up. My dad was very strict on me. My mom was very lenient on me. So I've taken part of what my dad had with his strictness and with his sense of responsibility and stuff, and taken that to my kids. But I've also taken the caring and the showing that I love them and the emotional side of things from my mom, and kind of mix the two. So it hopefully made me a better parent than my parents were individually. And oftentimes, that's why it is so important to have both parents involved in a kid's life, because the parents tend to balance out in the way that they go a lot of times, So let's talk some numbers. As I was looking through different sources, one of which was Wikipedia, and I found some very staggering numbers on parenting, and I thought I really wanted to share this with you, because this is very very sad, maybe, as to my sex and the responsibility that they have. So as of the 2011 census, there are 13.7 million single parents out there. Of those 13.7 million, 83% of those are single mothers. And of that 83%, 45% of those are divorced, 1.7% are widowed, and 34% of single mothers have never been married. Now, this, on one hand, I totally get it. I totally understand how women don't necessarily need a man to raise a child, and kudos to them. Being a single mom, any single mom out there, I give kudos to for raising your child and stepping up to the plate and being responsible enough to do this. The reason that I say these numbers is for the guys out there. These type of numbers are just absolutely pitiful when it comes to the males. Now, 1 in every 4 children under the age of 18, as of the 2011 census now, mind you, that's a total of 17.4 million kids out there are raised without a father. Now, let me say that again. 1 in 4 kids under the age of 18, totaling 17.4 million kids, are raised without a father. Whether that is because of a divorce or a widowing, or even just the male subject not stepping up to the plate when it comes to a kid, that is the question. If it's for a divorce, okay, yes, I get that, to an extent, they're not going to have a father figure. Widowing, yes, I'm so sorry for your loss. But for those 34% of single moms that are raising kids by yourself without a father, and those 1 in 4 kids that don't have a father to begin with, I feel bad. I really do. And we as males need to step up and take responsibility for our actions and be there for those kids. a mom can only do so much. And a single mom definitely can only do so much. She has to be the mom and the dad. She has to be the one that, brings in the money, that has to take care of the kids, that has to make sure that they're fed and clothed and bathed and all that. She has to do everything by herself. And we as guys, we have to step up and take some of that responsibility, because that is our responsibility. That kid is half yours too. And, one of the things that we encountered when we were foster parents, the second placement that we had was for a 4-day-old child, 4-day-old baby girl. We had her for a year. She was number 11 when we got her for BioMom. And BioMom didn't have any of her kids. They were with some of her relatives. Some of them, the father stepped up and took them. And while we had her, the mom was pregnant with twins. So 13 kids in the time that, she had 13 kids at the time. And who knows if she knew who the dads were. Those that did and those that stepped up, kudos to them. But how many of those she didn't know? How many of those were maybe one-night stands? Or maybe the father didn't want anything to do with him, or whatever it was. I would hope that if she didn't know who the father was, or if she did know who the father was, that he would step up. If she didn't, that's on her. That's on her, on whatever the case may be. I'm not judging. But what I'm getting at is, we as dads need to step up and make sure that we take care of our kids, and make sure that we are dads and not just fathers, not just sperm donors. We need to make sure that we are responsible for our actions and take responsibility for the kids that we help bring into this world. Whether you are home a lot or not, whether you are divorced, whether you have a child and with somebody and you are not together anymore, whatever the case may be, we need to make sure that we are in that child's life no matter what. A child that is brought up with both parents, statistically speaking, does better in life than if they're by themselves or if they're raised by a single parent. I don't have the statistics on that in front of me, but I know I read them somewhere. So just remember to step up and be a dad, and try to instill responsibility and love and trust into your kids. We're always trying to make sure that we show our daughters how a lady is supposed to be treated. And we try to instill in our son how to treat a woman. And show them that responsibility is something that you need to take very heavily, and make sure that you keep your word. All these things we're trying to instill in our kids, and they're 3, 5, and 6. Start early. That way they're not out running around, maybe even getting pregnant as teenagers. Show them what it means to be a parent. And guys, show them especially what it means to be a dad. You only get one shot. Very seldom do you get a second chance or to be able to reconnect later on. And even if you do, how could your experience with them, or how could you have influenced their lives if you were together when they were younger? So that is all I have, y'all. I hope that this didn't seem just like a rag chewing on guys or on girls or whatever, but I just had to get it out there. Had to get my feelings on this out there, and maybe it'll touch somebody. Maybe it will push somebody to be a little bit better with their kids and help teach them. So I thank you very much for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Like this video if you liked it. If you didn't, dislike it. By all means, I totally understand. But please like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for more videos. We do videos on Tuesdays and on Fridays. And make sure you click the bell icon as well. From my wife and I here at Parenting on the Ranch, we will see you next time. And until then, check out these videos over here for more great content until the next one comes out. Thanks for watching. Happy parenting. See you later.